Well, hey, friend, welcome back to the podcast. I've got a fun episode for you today. So, this week I'm doing a 3-day email opt in challenge. It's all about growing your email list in 2025 for your small business so that you can make more money. And so, we are talking about how to craft the perfect opt in. Who is your perfect person that the opt in is for? What one problem can you solve for them? Etc. And I wanted to do the podcast today, like share with you the replay of day one of the challenge. It was so good, you guys, if I don't mind saying so myself. And so, again, talking about email opt ins, ideal customers, this is some really, really good, meaty stuff. So, grab something to write with, a pen and a paper. It's not too late to join because I'll be chatting in the challenge all week. So, you can go to jenniferallwood.com/challenge to grab a seat for the rest of the week. It's 100% free. You can upgrade to get a workbook and a VIP session if you want, but otherwise, completely free to you. Go to jenniferallwood.com/challenge. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. So I don't want to take a lot of time on my bio for the people here that are new, but I do feel like just a 1 minute overview of kind of my business story is important. Okay. So my background is that in the year 2000, I started a decorative painting company in Kansas City. Who remembers faux finishing, like marbling and feather dusting? Okay, so it was so cheesy, but it was also thebomb.com. Okay, so I owned that painting company for 17 years. And when Facebook and Instagram came out, I started using Facebook and Instagram for business. And it turned out that I was actually pretty good at social media. And I started building a decent online following and, a couple 100,000 followers on Facebook. And people kept asking me, like, what are you doing? How are you getting so many followers? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I guess I could teach, how I'm getting followers. But I was also teaching some classes on painting online, which was a lot of fun. But that's when I started coaching, was about, I would say, 10, 11, 12 years ago. And during that time, I have been able to write a book. I've got a podcast called The Jennifer Allwood Show, which has about almost 7 million downloads. I've got to be with Chip and Joanna Gaines on stage. I've met Dave Ramsey several times. Lisa Bevere is a human being who is super dear to me. My business really exploded in about the year 2018, but I have transitioned from like painter to painting instructor to social media coach to now I just literally am committed in this season. God has me really helping women build their businesses online with using social media, with using email. And I have a software that we developed almost 2 years ago called Equip 360, which does all of that for you. So that is what I currently do. And we have well over 100,000 people on my email list. So it makes me, I think, very equipped, appropriate to be someone who teaches about email. Okay. And so I want to know, since we're talking about email this week, will you put in the chat for me who here has an email list or who here needs one? Who here has an email list? Who here needs one? And and whether or not you have a list, by the way, I do have something that I'll tell you about tomorrow that's going to be a game changer for a lot of you. It's going to help those of you who don't have email. But for those of you who have started one, like how many of you would love to have an extra 1,000 people on your email list? How many of you would like just to have an extra 1,000 people? Because here's what I need for you to keep in mind the entire time we're together for the next 3 days. More people on the email list should equal more money. That's like the only formula you really need to know. More people on your list, more money. More people on your list, more money. Okay. So let me give you just a little overview of like email and how email has affected my business. So the email list, I think I started my email list, even though I started my painting company in the year 2000. I didn't start a list, I think, until around 2010. And I used a software called Aweber, which I think is still used. I don't know, but I used Aweber and it worked fine, until it didn't. But I think one of my first opt-ins, which is what we're talking about today, which is like a freebie and how you get people on your email list. I think one of my first opt-ins was like my 50 favorite paint colors. Have any of you followed me long enough to remember that? It was literally like a PDF that you could print out and take to your local Sherwin-Williams. And it's like Jen's favorite red colors, Jen's favorite browns and blacks. And it was 50 paint colors that, you could take with you to the store. I had thousands of people opt into that. They gave me their email address, and I would email them the list of my favorite paint colors. And so my email list grew to, 20,000 email subscribers over a couple of years time. And then I kind of needed to upgrade. I needed to get away from Aweber. So I switched over to an email service called Entreport. I don't know if you guys have heard of Entreport, but it worked really well also for a while, but it's very robust is the nice word. I'm going to call it clunky. And it also got to be like really expensive, but we needed it because our email list was really growing. And so my coaching business, teaching people how to grow online with social media and email, hit the $2 million a year in revenue in the year 2018. That is when business and life completely changed for me and my family. A few years prior to that, we were $30,000 on one single credit card, and we had multiple. And I was wondering when I was headed to the grocery store if it was going to get declined for us being maxed out. Okay. But we hit at the $2 million a year mark in 2018. And the truth is, we really used email to do that. In a 10-day period of time, we sent emails almost every single day for 10 days, trying to get people into a $47 coaching group that I had. My business had been at about $600,000 a year. And in 10 days time, we took it to 2 million a year. And then the revenue has gone up yearly from there. So with that increase in revenue, I had to scramble, right, and hire like a lot of new team members because it had been me and an assistant, and you just can't handle that sort of an increase in revenue with just a team of two. And so what's interesting is that as I've hired more people on my team, they have been really good at the things that I'm really crappy about. Okay, so I love numbers. I love math, but I have a super creative brain. And so, when it comes to business, I'm not someone that likes to sit down and look at data. Can anybody kind of relate to that? And so thank goodness people on my team, like Nell that you just saw, my director of operations, she loves data. And so my team has really been responsible since about 2018 for tracking numbers, tracking sales, figuring out where our people are coming from. And thank goodness, because if you had asked me where all of my sales were coming from, with a following of like right now almost 700,000 followers, I would have told you I thought most of my sales were coming from my social media. We've got 700,000 followers, almost 7 million podcast downloads, or something to the number 7 with us. But all of our data shows 75 to 80% of every sale we are making, and it's millions of dollars of sales every year, are coming from my email list. It's coming from my email list, you guys. And so 2 years ago, we decided to really like double down on email and providing email services to our clients. We white labeled a software called Go High Level that you might be familiar with. We call it Equip 360. That is our email software and our social media scheduling software. I can tell you all about that later. And we have well over 100,000 people who are active on my email list. Now, we have had over 250,000 people on my email list, but Nell's a cleaner upper, okay? Let me just say this. Nell may not clean up her own email, but she cleans up mine. Okay. She cleans up mine. She regularly goes through, and anybody that, hasn't engaged with me in email for the last 6 months or hasn't opened anything, and she gets rid of them, archives them, etc. And then of course people do unsubscribe, but we have had over 250,000 people on my email list. And my goal is to do what we did not last year, but the year before, which was to add 20 to 25,000 people to my list this year. Because every time I add one person to my email list, the return on investment is somewhere between $36 and $45. I like to just say $40 just because it's a nice round number. So if I can get one person on email, that should equal $40 at some point in my business. So somebody do a quick math for me. If I can add 20,000 people this year, what's 20,000 times 40? Can we ask Siri? Hey, Siri, what's 20,000 times $40? I should be able to add $800,000 to our bottom or our top line revenue this year. That is how important email is to me. And that's how I want you to start thinking about email for you and your business. Okay. So the question people always ask is, okay, Jen, how do you get that many people on your email list? We have great freebies. We have really great freebies, and I'm probably going to call it freebies a lot, but it interchanges with the words opt-in. Okay, so it's the same thing. But my team and I, we are fabulous at coming up with freebies, freemiums, opt-in ideas. In fact, probably a lot of you are here today because you're on my email list. You got an email saying Jen's going to have this opt-in challenge. You want to join me? How many of you are here because you're on my email list? Let me know in the comments below. And we've had so many opt-ins over the years. So many. We've had that 50 favorite paint colors, which was definitely like, a crowd favorite. We've had prayers for business owners as a Christian woman who coaches a lot of Christian business women. We made that into an ebook. We've had a quiz for like the 8 top ways that you can make money in the online space. We've had a 50 top subject line emails that people love when they're in business. We've had a private podcast series for people who are interested in getting into short-term rentals. So we have had a variety, and it just keeps growing the list, growing the list, growing the list. And so my promise for you guys today is this. By the end of the today, I want you to have a crystal clear idea of who your perfect person to get on your email list is. And then I want you to walk away today with a list of some lead magnet ideas that are going to get that perfect person onto your list. Okay. That is the goal for today. All right. So we're going to get started. If you have followed me for any length of time, let me know if you understand what the hand cream symbolizes. Diana does. The famous hand cream's coming out. People call it my Holy Spirit hand cream. I don't know, but whenever I start putting on hand cream, they know that I'm about to like really go off. So here's one thing I want to say just right as I get started. Okay. You guys have invested your time and your treasure to be here today. You maybe are, you didn't purchase the workbook and you didn't purchase the VIP, and that's okay. I still love you, but you have invested your time to be here today. And so if you're like me, you tend to be a person who multitasks, but I'm going to tell you something. What I'm teaching today, it's not the type of thing that like your brain can handle multitasking. Okay. Last night I was finishing up notes as I was watching the inauguration. And then I was listing some things on Facebook Marketplace to sell at our property in Florida while I was watching a Netflix series. So I love multitasking, but this is not one of those times. Can I just say that? I want you, since you've invested time and treasure to be here, to please dial in. Just set whatever else you have that you can down for the moment. You don't need to do laundry right this second, because what will happen is for those of you who dial in and you fully lean into what I'm about to teach you today, tomorrow, and the next day, it is a free training that's going to bring you, we're just going to say approximately $40 for every person that you can get on your list. Does that make sense? Like if you will just turn everything else off, this will come back to you financially, I believe. All right. So hopefully you can do that. Also, take notes, okay? Whether it's just the notes on your phone or if you purchase the workbook, do that because note takers are history makers. So take some notes. All right. So I told you that the way we get so many great people onto our email list is through having really great opt-ins, right? And when you're thinking about opt-ins for your people, so that you can get people onto an email list, I have what I think is the winning strategy. Somebody write this in the chat, write this in your notes, okay? Here's the winning strategy. You have to figure out who your perfect client is first. Then you have to be able to like put into words what his or her biggest pain points are. And then you need to create a freebie that solves that problem. Okay, here's the winning strategy again. Who's your perfect person? Put into her or his or her words the one biggest pressing problem they have in their life right now, and then make a freebie that solves that one problem for them. Does that make sense? And so while this may sound boring, here's what I also want to say. I am a person who is a complete introvert, first of all, but I have a really big personality. I want bright colors. I want things to be fun. I like a lot of, moving and shaking. I like a lot of drama, etc. When we start talking about like finding your ideal person and what is their biggest pressing problem, like there's a part of me on the inside that wants to go, wah, wah, wah. But I love what my email list does for my revenue. And so if there's any part of you that's like, this is about to be boring, talking about your perfect people, like, but it's not boring when you see deposits going into your bank account that can change the life of your family and then your children's children, which is biblical, and allows you to have more impact and income on this side of heaven. That's not boring, okay? That's not boring. So here's where we're going to start. First, I want every single one of you to begin thinking as I'm talking today, and then as you're like going about your life later on today, who is your target person? Who is your ideal person? Who are they and what do they need? Okay. Warning. It can't be, I want to sell for everybody. It just, that doesn't ever work, friends. When you're for everybody, you're for nobody. Somebody write that in the chat. When you're for everybody, you're for nobody. So you have to have a perfect person. Okay. So let's do some brainstorming here. And for those of you who bought the workbook, there is this exercise is in the workbook. For those of you that didn't, and now you're like, crap, I wish I did. I believe it's 17 bucks. Team Allwood. Is that right? Is that right? Is it $17? You can go to jenniferallwood.com/workbook quick and get it downloaded. Okay. You can get that downloaded. But there's a whole exercise in there. And if you don't want the workbook, that's fine. I'm no skin off my back. But write this down in your notes. Who is going to be your perfect client? It's not going to be everybody. I want you to think of like some demographics and some specifics. Is there a specific age? And it can be a range. I don't need you to say she's 28 and a half, but is she or he 25 to 55? Like there usually needs to be an age range. Okay. We've got like one client who he does programs for teenagers, like with slow motion videos. So like, his age demographic is he's looking for 15 to 20-year-olds. So like figure out what's the average age, all right? Are they married? Do they have kids? This sort of thing comes into play if you're a coach who's coaching divorced women. This comes into play if you're making a program for people who have newborns and you're trying to help them sleep. Does that make sense? Like this matters. So are they married? Do they have kids? Give me some information about their lifestyle. Do they live in a certain part of the country? What do they like? What do they dislike? Where do they hang out? These are all things that you may or may not be able to answer, but you need to really get clear. We were even double dog dared a few years ago by a marketing consultant that we hired to give our ideal person a name. So we did. We named her Laurel. Okay. And so sometimes it's just nice to be able to picture Laurel and like, what are Laurel's needs right now? And who is Laurel today? Like, who's my ideal person today? So if I were to tell you about Laura, I'd tell you this. Laurel's probably like, this is for myself and Team Allwood. She's my ideal person. She's probably a middle-aged woman and she's building a business in the online space. Now, do I have some men that coach with me? Absolutely. But 95% of my clients are female. So we're just going to go with, what most of your ideal people are going to be. All right. So ideally, Laurel's going to be a middle-aged woman who's building a business online. She probably needs a coach because she's probably got a lot of fears. She probably needs help with some software because she might not be very techy. She's probably very talented in a certain area of her life. Or maybe she feels like God is really calling her to share her story or build a business. She has a passion where she really wants to help others, but a lot of times she doesn't even know where to start. And she doesn't know how to get her idea or her story or her program out in front of other people. Okay. That's my ideal person. That's who we do the majority of our freebies and our content to. Okay. So I want you to think of those. Then I want you to think of like the second thing. Okay. What are Laurel's biggest challenges? And I saw somebody say that their ideal person is named Kate. And I love that. I love that you have a name. Kevin Kirkpatrick says, Laurel is me. I love it. And Kevin, if you are in fact a male in here, so glad to have you. And forgive me, please, in advance if I forget, because there will be men in here. And I talk to if I say women, please know I'm glad you are here. So the point number 2, though, is you have to picture your ideal person and figure out what is it that their ideal, or not their ideal, what your ideal person's biggest pain points, biggest challenges are. And here's how I think is the easiest way to think about it. Okay. Here's what I think. Why am I so parched all of a sudden, too? I don't know. My husband Jason and I were talking this morning. For as much snow as we have in Kansas City, as much ice as we've had, it's so dry here. It's just so stinking dry. So forgive me, but that's better than coughing. Okay. So when I think about the challenges of my ideal person, here's what I think about. What is Laurel laying awake in bed at night, freaking out over? What is it that Laurel is stressing out over? What is she wringing her hands over? What is it that Laurel's like, I've got to figure this out? And your job and my job is to know our ideal person, our avatar so well and know her problems so well and be able to put words to them so well that we're able then to come up with the freebie that solves their problem. Does that make sense? Not all of their problems, just one problem. Just one problem. That's my job and your job. We've got to know who our perfect person is. Okay. So even if you have done this exercise before of who's your perfect avatar, who's your ideal client, I really think it's important that you go back and you redo this at least every 6 months to a year, especially if you are somebody who has pivoted recently. Any pivoters here in the group? Every time I say that, somebody talks about Ross on Friends, pivot, pivot, when they're trying to move that sofa. Some of you are too young to remember Friends. Funny story. Also, can I add just a little side note here? This is ADHD. At our new property in Florida, which is called Bougie on Miramar Beach, I don't think I've shown a picture of this yet, but our front door is like a periwinkle blue. So not purple like was on Friends, but it's a periwinkle blue. But I bought that yellow frame that goes around the little peephole that they had on Friends, and it's adhered to our front door. Do you guys remember that? That little yellow frame on the purple front door. So we've got the yellow frame on our periwinkle blue front door. Funny little side note. But anyhow, if you've pivoted, you definitely need to redo this avatar exercise. Totally. Every 6 months to a year, we do re-examine. Is our ideal person still the same? Are her problems still the same? Because things happen in the world that change a person's biggest pressing problem. Like our ideal clients' problems before COVID hit in 2020 were different than after they hit 2020. Does that make sense? Our ideal person's problems when the economy and interest rates and things were lower are different than what they have today. And so you've got to know your person. So right now, I want you guys to utilize the chat. And I want you to give me what is one thing that your ideal client has for a biggest pressing problem. What is one thing that keeps her awake at night or him awake at night? I want you to go ahead and just throw that in here real quick, okay? Wedding planning. Okay, so I have a son, Nikki, who is engaged. They're getting married on 7/11, which is National Slurpee Day. Isn't that cute? National Slurpee Day. I mean, I should never forget it. Also, I'm getting a Slurpee machine for the kids. So there's that. And so look at some of these. House painting for gifts for clients, how to manage their business finances. Okay, take that down a little bit further. Is it how to manage their business finances, or is it I've got a stinking mess of bookkeeping that I've got to get figured out? That I've got to get figured out. Okay. Somebody said menopause weight gain. Okay. So is she laying awake at night going, man, this menopause and the weight gain? Or is she laying awake at night going, oh my gosh, is this menopause? I don't know why all of a sudden I have all this extra belly fat and my clothes don't fit. See how, like, if you can specifically put into his or her words what's happening, that makes everything different. Peggy said skincare or wrinkles. So let me give you your ideal client. What she's saying. I look into the mirror and I don't recognize the face of the woman staring back at me right now. When did my face age this much? How do I get rid of these crow's feet? Like, that's the biggest pressing problem that's making them like lay awake at night trying to figure out a solution. Okay, somebody said, I'm feeling secure in her money matters, says Lynn Lee. Lynn Lee, so is it that? Because I don't lay awake at night and go, if I could only feel secure in my money matters. What I lay awake at night going is, holy crap, I've got a mess in my checking account and I need to get some more money in there ASAP and figure out how to save on my expenses. That's a biggest pressing problem. Okay, somebody said, Cheryl says, overwhelmed by everyday life. Is she laying awake at bed at night going, I'm so overwhelmed by everyday life? Or is she laying awake at bed at night going, I've got to figure out how to have more hours in my day. I don't understand how to get everything done. Why can I not figure out how to be more organized like my best friend or my neighbor? Like, see how if you can get more specific and like step into the shoes of your ideal person, I promise you the rest of what we do this week will be so much easier. So, here's what I'm going to ask for you guys to do today before we meet again tomorrow. I want you to come up with the top 3 struggles of your ideal person, the top 3, because this way we're going to be able to dream up like a freebie for each of those struggles. Okay. Because again, remember when I said earlier, you can't be for everybody. You know, when you're for everybody, you're for nobody. Well, you can't solve all the problems for your avatar, but I want you to hone in on 3 of the biggest pressing problems of your ideal person. Okay. So, let me give you some examples from me. And I love doing this because I feel like if I can give some of you guys examples, but also give like examples of how we're do this in our business, that's helpful. Okay. Is that cool? So if we think about Laurel, my ideal client, who's probably relatively new to business, hasn't made her first $100,000 yet. Here's one of her biggest pressing problems. She's laying awake in bed at night thinking, "How am I going to make more sales in this business? How am I going to quit having just a hobby and be able to like show and prove both to myself and everybody around me that this business actually is making money? How do I do that?" She also lays awake at night and she thinks, okay, I need to make more money in my business, which means I need to get online, but I'm very intimidated by the tech. I don't really know where to start. I'm trying to figure out how to get, my social media up and going. And at the same time, Jen keeps harping on email and I don't know how to do that either. The truth is I just want to share my gifts with the world, but apparently I got to do all this business crap that feels really big and heavy and overwhelming. Peggy says, "You are reading my mail." Lori says, "That's me." I know, because you want to know one of the things that makes me millions of dollars every year? I know you guys. I know my ideal person sometimes better than they know themselves. And I say that with humility, but I understand who you are and I have figured out how to be able to speak your language. You feel like a hamster on a wheel. You're just starting in your business. There's so many stinking things to do. You don't even know where to start. You just want to share your gifts with the world. You just want to share your products with the world. You don't want to do all the background stuff that feels like a drag, and yet you know you need to. So a lot of times you end up pushing it off and pushing it off. And you've had this incredible business idea that for a lot of you, I believe God fully wants to bless, but you have to get the email set up. You have to get the social media set up. You have to get the software set up, etc. So we make freebies to help with that. When my team and I, when we think about our ideal person, when we think about Laurel and some of her struggles, or the potential people that we want to be coaching. And I know that like email is a struggle for a lot of our potential clients. And so one of the things that we do is on occasion, we will offer a program where we set up email for free for you so that you don't have to. Talk about a freebie, right? Like if I was to offer you a program where I said, "I know you don't have email yet, let my team just set it up for you." I mean, for a lot of you, you're going to be like winner, winner, chicken dinner, because that just checks off your list a major stumbling block you've had to building your business. Am I right? Somebody let me know. See, Deborah, Shay, exactly. And so, one of the freebies that we do, like I said, on occasion is with the program, we'll offer a free email setup, a free email account for people. We also know that for people who already have email, and isn't this is my personal blankie today. We know that sometimes you have an email list set up, but you're not using it. And the reason a lot of times our clients are not using it is because you're like, "I just don't know what to write about. I don't know what sort of an email schedule to get on. I don't know what to say. I don't want to bug people." Am I right? Am I right? So we did a freebie a while back that was called our 50 top subject lines that you can use for your emails, like just to shift our subject lines to your industry. Um, and so like we try to think of our ideal person and a tool to solve one problem for her. I know that as a Christian business coach, not all of my clients are Christians, but the majority of them are. And so I know that their faith is important to them. And one of the things that they lay awake in bed at night, concerned about is, how do I still be a good wife if they're married, mom if they have children, friend, daughter, and still maintain all of my Christian values and yet grow this company. So I came up years ago with an ebook of prayers for Christian business owners. And we had thousands and thousands of people sign up for that. Okay, so I want you to just really tonight focus on 3 pain points of your ideal person, because then we're going to create freebies for them. Okay. Somebody give me one more of your clients' pain points in the chat right now. Let me know. Amy says, that's my issue, not using it. Amy, I will convince you over the course of the next few days how to use it. I promise. Okay, Doreen says potty training. So I think probably what your ideal client lays awake at night thinking is, if I could just get this kiddo potty trained, oh my gosh, I could leave the diaper bag at home. It would be so much freedom. There'd be so much more time. I'd feel comfortable going out to restaurants and things again. Like, it would be a game changer for our family if this kiddo was just potty trained. You write freebies based on that. Okay. Planning a wedding on a budget. So the biggest pressing problem is it's because nobody wants to plan a wedding on a budget. What a woman does want to do is, I want to have a wedding that looks like it cost $50,000 for a fraction of that price. I want to know how I can make this wedding on a dime look like it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because nobody is laying awake at night going, if I could just plan a wedding on a budget. That sounds sad. But if you do a freebie on the top 5 things you need to do to make sure that your wedding looks like it costs your family $1 million, that's your freebie. Does that make sense? So, like, think of what she's saying to herself, what's in her head at night when your ideal person, or his head at night if you are serving men, but what is their ideal pain point? Okay. All right. So that is point number 1. I want you to come up with 3 things tonight that are the biggest pressing problems, biggest pain point. What do they lay awake at night stressing about? Second thing that we're going to go over today then is brainstorming these lead magnets, brainstorming these freebies to solve your ideal person's specific problem. Okay. So listen, there's lots of different types of freebies. There's ebooks that I've talked about. There's videos, there's, podcasts, private podcast links, there's PDFs, there's templates. And so a lot of times when clients come to me, they'll say, okay, Jen, you've convinced me I need a great freebie, but like, I don't know where to start. I've got the topic, but do I do a video? Do I do a little mini course? Like, do I do a workbook? Do I do what do I do? And here's what I will always say: do a PDF. The first freebie that I believe everybody should probably make, just because it's going to be the easiest, the cheapest, and the quickest, is a PDF file. Does that make sense? Tiana, I don't think that I'm getting stuck or buffering at all. I sure hope not. I sure hope that everything is fine on the Wi-Fi. But I think everybody should start a PDF first. And you can do a million different types of PDFs, right? You could do a top 10 checklist, a checklist of any kind. You can do a report. There's all sorts of like formats that you can have it in. There are different types of PDF content though. Okay. Can we go over this just real quick? Your PDF file could be one of like these 4, for instance. So you could be doing a freebie that's very educational. This is for people who they don't know the solution to their problem. Sometimes they don't even know what their problem is, and they just need to be educated on what the problem is and then your possible solutions. Let me give you an example. Sometimes someone is overweight. Okay. So they understand that their problem is that they are overweight. But what they don't know is that they have insulin resistance. So if you make a freebie on insulin resistance, right over their head, because they don't understand that that's the problem. Okay. And as a woman who has insulin resistance, this is a topic very close to my brain at the moment, but they don't even know what that is. So they don't know how to identify. They don't even realize that that's them. So your freebie could be, take this test, or, the top 5 ways, this is your PDF, the top 5 ways to know if perhaps insulin resistance is why you're not losing weight. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So your PDF can be educational. You can see that on the slide here. The next type of content you could do for your PDF could be like a step one. It could be like the step one out of several steps. So like if your ideal client, if they get the freebie for step one, a lot of times then they will pay for the other steps. So let me give you some examples, okay? You could teach step one out of like a 5-step process. And then, in order to get the other 4 steps, they have to buy your course from you. Some of you have been kind enough to purchase my book, Fear is Not the Boss of You, when it came out in 2020. We gave away chapter 1 of my book for free. And then we followed it up with an email campaign asking people to buy. So you can give away just this much and then they have to buy the rest of it. Okay. Another PDF that you could do is like solution based. This is for somebody who they know very good and well that they have a problem. They know where the problem's coming from. They just need some new solutions. So, since it's January and I have a sweet tooth, it could be like 7 ways to stop your sugar addiction without going crazy or something along those lines. My 51 or 50 top paint color PDF, that was for people that knew they needed to paint a room. The problem was they couldn't decide on a color. So I made that PDF and they just printed it off and would take it to the paint store. And so that could be the type of PDF you do. And the last type could be like a sampling. And this is good if you're someone who's going to sell like a lot of similar products. If you're going to do maybe a membership site for recipes, you could give people like 1 recipe for free and then they have to buy your membership to get the rest of it. It's great for those of you who do like printables or digital products. We've had a lot of people who I've coached over the years. And by the way, should have said this in my bio. We're nearing 25,000 clients that I have coached in the last decade, which is pretty amazing, I think. And because there's a lot of fly by night coaches who come in guns blazing, they made some good money, but they crash and burn, or, they come in guns blazing and they're gone. All of a sudden they disappear off social media. I have showed up. I have been consistent. I have coached on the regular for at least a decade. So we've had a lot of people come in who sell like digital files, digital prints, artwork, etc. And so that's you can just give them a sampling, and that's really easy as well. Here's one thing I want to remind you, and somebody can type this in the chat. This is not a saying from me. This came from Alex Hormozy online, but I saw Alex Hormozy say one time, when your free crap is better than their paid things, then you know that you have won. I think he might have said another word other than crap, but we'll go with that. Okay. So I know from working with so many clients that a lot of times women will say, hey, like, how do I know I'm not giving away too much for free? I want you to remember that saying from Alex Hormozy. When your free crap is better than their paid crap, then you know that you've won. Make your freebie really good. Don't worry about giving away too much for free, because I want you to think of this as like an appetizer at a restaurant. And the better that appetizer is, the more likely people are going to be to order the full steak dinner from you. And that's why you get people on your list. We're not getting people on your list just so that we can pat ourselves on the back and tell Jen she's a good coach. No, we're getting people on your list so that then you can email them and sell to them, right? So just remember that you've got to wow them with your freebie. It can't just be fluff. I want you to wow them with your freebie. I'm wowing you today, tomorrow, and Thursday with a crap ton of content here that should set you up for absolute success to get started getting, 1,000 new people on your email list, which is a game changer for so many of you. So it's got to be good. And the intention is to solve one problem and solve it quickly for your potential buyers. Okay. All right. So I will say that after you guys get good at making PDFs and you've done PDF opt-ins, there are some level 2 ideas. Okay. So some level 2 ideas are going to be things like formatting a quiz. Can I tell you something about humans? And remember how I said earlier, like, I think one of the things that makes me a really good coach is I understand your problems and what you're saying to yourself and et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of times better than sometimes you understand yourself when it comes to business. And a couple years ago, my team and I, we taught a class on 8 different ways you can make money in the online space. Some of you have taken that class, made us millions of dollars. It was called Creators Roadmap. And so, but what we did is we made a quiz. that people had to take about themselves, which would then give them the answer of which of the 8 ways of making money online should they start with first. Everybody likes to take quizzes about themselves. So after you've done a PDF and you need some other opt-in ideas, quizzes are great. You've all seen quizzes on social media, like, what kind of Disney princess are you more like? Does that make sense? Like, what kind of cheese are you most likely to be like? I don't know, but people take quizzes about themselves all the time, so that's really good. You could also do a video opt-in. This is perfect for like demonstrating an expertise that you have, maybe like a how-to video, how to use a different software. Maybe if you're somebody that does Facebook ads for a living, you can show people how to set up a Facebook pixel. Like those are all good ideas. We've offered a lot of templates over the years, fill in the blank things. We've done like an income calculator template, which I had this brainstorm this week that we should share with you guys some sort of a calculator so that you can see if you get X amount of people on your email list, like what you could make in revenue. May or may not be coming. Stay tuned, okay? But we've done Canva templates for social media posts, things like that in the past. Podcast series or private podcast series, we've done that. Does anybody in here have a podcast? Let me know, just out of curiosity in the chat. But you can share a lot of your wisdom. We have a 4-part, or I have a 4-part short-term rental podcast series, which is not really my ideal person for business coaching. However, a lot of business people end up making so much money, whether it's through coaching with me or other people, that they're able to have discretionary income to buy their first short-term rental. And so that's an idea, or a mini course. There's many people that will do a mini course and they'll sell it for 17 bucks, 27 bucks, but you could also do it as a freebie. So those are all like level 2 ideas. But here's what I think I just need you to kind of keep in mind when you're thinking about ideas for any of your opt-ins. All right. There's 4 things I want you to ask yourself. Is this a freebie that people are actually going to really want? That's one thing that, you need to ask yourself. Is this something that your people really need? Is it going to make a difference if they get it from you? Are your people going to understand this, or have you written it at way too high of a level? Can I give you another like ninja tip? Every single opt-in that you write, type out, or anytime you're communicating in general, it has to be at a 6th grade reading level. Did you know that? Please, for the love, when you're working on ideas for your opt-in, don't be trying to use big words. We're not Thurston Howell here, okay? You've got to dumb it down because, and let me give you the thinking behind this. And I should have also said in my bio, I did a terrible job of introducing myself today, you guys. I am a certified life coach. I spent $20K on a life coaching school 2 years ago because I wanted more life coaching tools to teach my business people. Because I can teach the heck out of strategy, but I need you to think different about your business too, okay? And so what happens is a lot of business owners will be like, okay, I'm going to try to get as many people in on this freebie. Woo! Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's going to be so much fun. I need to put on my business hat and I need to use really big words. And that's not what they're really saying to themselves, but they're trying to impress. So they're naming things way up here. And the content in their freebies way up here. And I need you to dumb it on down to a 6th grade level. Some of you have 6th graders growing in your house. Okay. I need you to bring it on down so that the human mind is able to compute. Because otherwise, when people read something from you, they see you on a Facebook ad talking about your freebie. We'll talk about that later. They see you post something on social media and you're trying to use fancy schmancy words, you're losing them because social media and email and all the other places, it's loud, it's noisy. Be interesting, be different. Don't be too professional. Nobody cares about your big words. Okay. So do people understand it? And lastly, is it going to help them to purchase something from you? Is it like a good first or second or third step with you that leads ultimately to them like investing in whatever it is that you are selling? So, does that make sense? You've got some homework for tonight. I'm going to wrap up here in just about the next 5 minutes, but who can help remember what the homework is? And Christine just got a fabulous idea and it's all my fault. I'm so glad. Christine, I love, love. Anytime somebody says to me, you just gave me an aha moment. I'm like, and my work here is done. Because it's not that you guys in here It's not that your businesses haven't grown because you're not good business people. It's not usually because you don't have good ideas. You just need someone to help you see the idea and how to present it in a different way to your people. Because if you can do that, it's the person that understands their ideal client and their ideal client's pains and struggles the best that will win in this game. 100% of the time. Okay. So your two pieces of homework for tonight are you're going to come up with your 3 lead magnets based on what we've talked about. Okay. Take a screenshot. If you're watching this on your phone, just screenshot this. Okay. Boop. Oh, also, thank you, Tracy. And can we get a round of applause for Tracy West, who will be ushering us into the presence of Jesus every day with worship music at the beginning. Thank you, Tracy. But thank you for putting that war room link here. It's jenniferallwood.com/VIP. I will be starting in the war room in about 15 minutes. I'll start with prayer. I'll end with prayer. I will pray and prophesy wherever God tells me to. I will answer your specific questions about opt-ins, try to give you some ideas. I am prayed up already today, prayed with the team on Voxer. Husband has prayed over me. I've been in the word this morning. I am dialed in and ready, okay? And believing that God's going to give me some supernatural ideas from heaven for some of you. So if you didn't get a VIP ticket and you want one, you go to jenniferallwood.com/VIP. But okay, your homework is screenshot that. I know it says 3 to 5, and if you can only do 3, just do 3. But get some ideas before tomorrow of an opt-in that could help a specific problem for your audience, and don't overthink this, by the way. There, when you're having meetings with yourself in your brains, and ladies, can I talk to you for just a second? Okay. As an entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to be an entrepreneur, or God is grooming you to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't lack ideas. The problem is a lot of times you lack the confidence to put those ideas into play. You're not sure. You're not sure if you're equipped. You're not sure if you're ready. You're not sure if this is a good idea. When you're thinking of opt-ins and things, get them out of your brain. Our brains, ladies, are so stinking chaotic. Can I just say that? Especially if you are, okay, so if you're a female, you've got a more chaotic brain usually than men. Usually, okay? If you are a mom, we just doubled your chaos level, okay? If you are premenopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, which is me, you've got 3 times of chaos going on up here. 3 times. Okay. And so what helps so much is just to get it out of here and into either a paper form, put it in the workbook, or put it in the notes on your phone. And don't argue with yourself about your ideas. Cause a lot of times I have dumb ideas, and I'll put it in my phone. And later I'm like, okay, well, that was stupid, but you know, it's brilliant because it'll launch me into a better idea. Does that make sense? And so don't overthink it. Get it out of your head. If you didn't get the workbook, again, that was it. I think jenniferallwood.com/workbook is what that slide said. You could still get that if you want to. But before tomorrow morning, here's your homework. Pick the most compelling opt-in. Pick the lowest hanging fruit is what I'm going to say. If you're thinking about your ideal person, and their problems could be varied, right? But I want you to think about the best one. What is the most compelling, pressing problem? What's the best idea you have to solve it? And then I want you to post that into the Facebook group. Here's why that is really helpful. For a lot of you, there'll be some overlap in industries and things, but even when there's not, I learned more about business coaching from watching the fitness industry than by watching the business industry for years and years and years. And seeing what somebody would do in the health and wellness industry and just applying like a freebie, but from a business perspective, over in the business realm. And so read through a bunch of those things in the Facebook group. It will give you ideas, I promise. Okay. And so I want you to put that into the Facebook group. If you don't have a link to the Facebook group, I'm not sure what to tell you. It should be in your email. But here's one more ninja tip before Nell comes back up. Use ChatGPT if you don't know. Listen, ChatGPT should never replace our brains, okay? And yes, it is AI, artificial intelligence. AI in and of itself is a very neutral tool that we can either choose to use for evil or we can choose to use for good, okay? When I go to the dentist to have a tooth worked on, I do not do it without laughing gas and Novocaine because it's painful and it hurts. And I don't want to be in pain and it hurts. And for some of you, it's painful and it hurts to use your brain. I get it. I use ChatGPT all the time. I just had a friend use ChatGPT to help write her father's obituary. I just used ChatGPT to write a new VRBO description for our new property. My son just used ChatGPT to help with his resume. Like it's how we use ChatGPT that makes it evil or good, okay? But use ChatGPT to give you some ideas, some titles, all of the things, and then put it into the Facebook group. Okay, we're wrapping up day one here. Please be here tomorrow. I'm going to tell you what will inevitably happen. Tomorrow, the wheels could fall off the bus. The cat could puke on the floor right before I start. You could wake up and the toilet's over flooding, and if that happens, by the way, take care of that. But there may be things that come and try to distract you from being here live, and I'm going to encourage you to do everything you possibly can to get here. And it's not because things don't happen randomly. There are some pivotal things that will happen in your business that will change the trajectory of your business. There are certain things that you're going to apply to your business that are going to change the revenue for your business. And I hope that none of you for any minute don't doubt that the enemy of your soul, he does not want your business growing. He doesn't want your family financially free. He doesn't want you having more impact on this side of heaven. He doesn't want you needing to grow a team and to hire people someday. So he wants to keep your business just this little itty bitty baby thing. And so whatever you can do to get the training that you need to take your business to the next level, do whatever you can, if you could, to be here tomorrow. I'm going to be talking tomorrow too about how it's possible for you to get 1,000 email subscribers this year. And remember, the ROI on one subscriber is $36 to $40.